specific on the changes and the things that we're proposing in Canyon County. If you have other things you want to talk about, staff and myself are happy to talk to you about any of those afterward. So right now, I'd like to open it up to any board members who have anything to say. And after that, I'll turn it over to Stephen for his presentation. You guys are not required to say anything, but just wanted to offer you the opportunity. Okay, they're here to listen, which is exactly what we want them to do. So right now, I'll introduce Stephen Hunt. Stephen will do a presentation outlining the changes that we're proposing, and after that, we'll open the public hearing. Oh, we have a board member.
Hey, I'm Mayor Phillips from Caldwell. I just want to say thank you to all those that are here today. I know trying to get over here after work hours is a challenge sometimes, especially as this traffic continues to thicken across the Treasure Valley. So with that, I just want to say thank you for being here, and also my fellow board members from across the valley.
Thank you, Mayor Phillips. All right. With that, I'll turn it over to Stephen. You need that. Pick it out of that if you need. Okay.
Sure, I'll do it that way. Good evening, everybody. My name's Stephen Hunt. I'm the Chief Development Officer of Valley Regional Transit, and we will be going over what the proposals are this evening. First, though, I wanted to cover what's driving these proposed changes. There are some budget constraints that we're experiencing across Canyon County, and so we are trying to apply the best practices in the industry on how we can lower costs and become more efficient. And we're also trying to respond to some consistent comments about the lack of growth on the Route 40 in terms of boardings and within the city of Nampa specifically. So the proposed changes are beginning with the Route 150 or the VRT on demand, is we are looking to change the way we provide service in that area. The service area and the times of service would remain the same, but the way we're providing that service would be different. We'll get into more detail on that in a minute. We would remove all stops on the Route 40 within the city of Nampa. So that would be rerouted to no longer serve stops within the city of Nampa, and we would be maintaining the Route 42 as is. We'll go through each of those steps next. To begin with, though, we want to talk about the on-demand service and what's sometimes called microtransit and what we're proposing to change that to. So this is when I mentioned leveraging best practices across the industry. These are the things that we have learned through the last several years of running on-demand service and looking in other places and how this works. Our proposal would be to provide the same service in the same area, but using more cost-effective vehicles, serving curb to curb, and being able to do this using a lower cost service contract. And we would be using the same kind of booking process that we use today. People would book a trip using the VRT app. And if there were trips that are more efficient to be served with TNC, with transportation network company like Lyft or Uber, the rider would have the opportunity to accept that offering, and then they could get to where they're going faster. This is a way for us to focus the on-demand services where there's more demand, and use a service like Lyft or Uber where there might be a one-off longer trip and they could get where they need to go faster as well. The combination of these things is that we would be proposing to serve the same number of people at a much lower cost. I mentioned TNC. What that is, again, transportation network company, that's Lyft, Uber, any kind of ride hailing service. The outcome of this combination of a turnkey operation on the on-demand, as well as using a transportation network company, is it allows us to use the strengths of each type of service. So maybe today we've got long trips where few people, one person needs to get from South Nampa maybe to North Caldwell, or longer distance trips that if we put one of our on-demand vehicles on that, it's going to require a lot of time. The longest 25% of our trips take up 40% of our hours of service. So if we're able to focus those hours where we have more trips, then we'll be able to maintain the same number of rides and have those longer trips that take so much time run on TNCs, it will increase our productivity, reduce our costs. And that's what we're showing, is that cost per boarding can be down as much as almost 50%, 48% in cost per boarding. And the other thing this allows us to do, by shifting our focus on efficiency on the on-demand service, we're able to maintain the fixed route connections on Route 42, where we've been seeing significant growth over the last couple of years. Our goal, again, in all of this, is to support the transit network where we're seeing growth and maintain service where we know that there are critical connections. Spoke to this a little bit already with the on-demand service, but we have mentioned that the longest trips, top 25% of trips in terms of length, take 40% of our hours. So those are the kinds of trips we're trying to serve in a more efficient way, so that we have more resources available to serve shorter trips that can be shared, and trips at a more efficient cost. We're estimating that as much as 25% of the total trips that we'd be providing in 2027 would be on TNCs. So as the rider, if you're asking for a trip on the on-demand service, you would expect to see some of those offerings. And if you accept them, you can take them. You don't have to, but if you don't, then you'd be waiting for the next offering on the on-demand service. But we do expect a significant portion of the total rides to be on those TNCs. And we are hoping that we can even see some ridership growth within this, because we'll be having the remaining service hours on become more efficient and still serve those longer trips on TNCs. So a couple of other assumptions that go into the on-demand service is that the service area remains the same, and when service is provided remains the same. So those critical pieces of how you guys interact with the 150 today would remain the same. Also, the fare for the on-demand service would be the same, $1.50. All of the fare media that we use would be accepted on the VRT on-demand service. If you are offered a TNC ride and you accept that, the fare for that would be higher. It'd be $2 rather than the $1.50.
No longer trip. No.
Right. But if you've ever taken a Lyft or Uber on long trips, you know that you can pay way more than that on a Lyft or trip. And so that would be your total cost, would be $2 for the Lyft ride or Uber ride. All of the trips would be booked through the same app that you use today, or the VRT booking app. And we're also assuming that we're able to finish the implementation of this by October of this year, so we are pushing on a pretty fast time frame. The benefits of that model is that we do increase the productivity of service. We're able to match the right kind of service to the right location. That also allows us to increase access to the fixed route service. We know that the Route 42 doesn't go everywhere in Nampa or Caldwell, but you could take the on-demand service to the Route 150. We've spoken to several of you tonight that do that, and that option would remain. It lowers the cost per boarding, which is valuable to ourselves and to our funding partners, and it positions us for growth as the region continues to grow in terms of people, and it allows us to meet the financial constraints that we are feeling from our funding partners. We're also excited about the opportunity to potentially replicate this kind of service in other places in the Treasure Valley. So one of the things that has been a feather in the cap of Canyon County is a lot of the innovations that we do start here in Canyon County. On first location that we've done on-demand service, and this would also be other ways that we're continuing to improve the service in the Treasure Valley beginning here in Canyon County. The Route 40, this change would remove all the stops on Route 40 in Nampa. So today the Route 40 begins in Caldwell, runs down the boulevard to Karcher, and then gets off again at the Idaho Center Boulevard, serves a couple of stops around the CWI South Campus and the Walmart there. Those stops would be removed. And so it would just go from Caldwell to Meridian and then on into Boise. This allows us to reduce the funding request from the city of Nampa while still maintaining some critical Canyon County connections. For the riders in Caldwell, we would see improved service in terms of the amount of time it takes to get downtown. You'd be saving about 15 minutes each way on your connection between downtown Caldwell and and Meridian or Boise. We'd also be extending the service into the core of downtown Caldwell and have better park and ride options than we do today. We are not proposing any changes to Route 42. This is the fixed route service that provides most of the service in Nampa. In fact, of all the boardings that occur on transit in Nampa, the majority of those happen on the Route 42. And it serves Nampa Caldwell Boulevard, Garrity, Idaho Center Boulevard, and then out on Franklin, connecting a number of important employment destinations as well as other opportunities along that route within Nampa. It also connects to Meridian and to Town Square Mall in Boise. So this route has seen a lot of growth. One of the things that we've been asked for from the city of Nampa is see ridership growth. We want to see our services doing more. And this is a great example of that. And last year, between 24 and 25, there was a 34% increase in riders on the Route 42. This year, we're seeing that continue. Ridership growth of 26 over 25 it's not up 34%, but it's up, I think, another 20%. And so we strongly feel like this is an opportunity to lean into that growth on the Route 42, and we're hoping to be able to do that. Our proposal is to maintain everything as is. It's important to note, though, that we're in an active conversation with the city of Nampa about funding, and there have been some conversations on the council about potentially what would it mean if we reduced funding for the Route 42 and removed that. So that is part of the conversation, just in full transparency. But our current proposal is that we would maintain the Route 42 as is. It provides an important connection to a lot of folks. It makes a lot of the trips that otherwise would be on demand up and down the boulevard are able to be provided in an efficient fixed route way. And with that, I guess, do I stand for questions up here, or are we gonna? Okay, then we'll move on to the next section.
All right, thank you. Typically, the public hearing offers a chance for board members to ask questions, but not members of the public. What you'll be offered is a chance to come and testify for 3 minutes. After, if there are any questions from board members, we answer those. So do any board members have questions? Should be on.
It is on. Oh, okay, great. Good evening, everyone. Sorry that I was a few minutes late. I guess, Stephen, so for those of you that don't know, I'm the vice president of the Ada County Highway District Commission. So roads are our thing. Obviously, transit operates on our roads, as well as everyone else that rides, walks, bikes, right, all of that. But I guess, Stephen, for someone that's not as familiar with Canyon County and the routes that exist in Canyon County, how many folks ride on average Route 40 versus 42?
Total route, you're looking at the total number of people that are on Route 40 versus Route 42?
Yes.
I don't have that off the top of my head, but we have, hang on.
And while you're looking that up, I have a second question, if I may, Elaine.
Sure.
I guess for those of you that, there's a lot of complicated language as it relates to transportation and acronyms. So I try to ask questions that are a little bit more plainly, just so folks can fully understand just the different trade-offs and things. If you're ahead of me, congrats to you. That's great. But I guess, Stephen, could you just say a little bit more plainly, like why the TNC option and removing Route 40? Is it because that route is harder to service versus 42? Can you kind of explain that a little bit more directly?
Yeah, as far as the rationale for the reductions to Route 40
Yes.
Is because we were looking for ways to reduce the budget for the city of Nampa
At their request.
at their request.
Right.
And the route that currently is providing the fewest number of trips to the residents of the city of Nampa is the Route 40.
Right.
And so when we were trying to minimize the impact to the riding public and the citizens of Nampa, that was the area that we found we could make a cut that would be the least impactful. But to be clear, like, we're not making that decision because we don't feel like the Route 40 is doing work and important connections to other parts of the valley, but it is the cut that we feel like would be the least impactful to city of Nampa residents.
Thank you for that, Stephen. So, I mean, as a board member and someone who's here, I'd love to know from all of you that are here physically and those of you that are online, is that reflected in your experience? Is that where you would prioritize that cut? And I would hope that you would communicate that to the city of Nampa as well. Because just looking at the map, you know, again, I'm thinking more regionally. I'm not the one that's taking that route. But I would think there is tremendous value. But I understand the forced choices that you're having to make in this instance. But there's tremendous value in having that route to go to Boise. And so having that be removed is, I think, even though there's less riders, that is a bit of a shift that I think a lot of folks rely on heavily. So I'll be curious if that is the case from what I hear tonight. So thanks, Stephen.
And to answer your previous question, there are about 64, according to an FY25 data. So there were 64 weekday boardings on the Route 40, and there's 256 weekday boardings on the 42. So just as an example, it's several times more on the Route 42.
Thanks, Stephen.
Elaine, I have a question.
Go ahead. Councilmember Reynolds.
So, rides be affected from 40, if they go to a TNC model for on-demand?
Total TNC.
Mhm.
So the question, for those of you who didn't hear it, is what would the effect be for ridership in Nampa if Nampa chose to not fund VRT and instead contract directly with a transportation network company, an Uber or a Lyft? Well, Uber had originally agreed to provide a presentation to Nampa, and I think there were some numbers in that presentation. They chose in the end not to present, and as I understand it, from what was going to be presented for the same cost as what Valley Regional Transit is proposing to provide service on both the Route 42 and with our on-demand system, which includes some TNC and some microtransit, we would be providing more rides than they would have been able to provide for the cost that we're proposing from the numbers I saw. I don't have exact numbers because it's been a minute since I saw that presentation. I haven't reviewed it.
So a follow-up to that, if the 40 goes away in Nampa, then it looks like in this proposal that there would be servicing that through on-demand, possibly.
Yes, the proposal is that if you're a current Route 40 rider, one of the options you would have would be to use the on-demand to get to the Route 42, or possibly to get to the new Route 40 and then ride it. The other option would be to drive to the park and ride at the Canyon County Fairgrounds and get on it there, which also may be, because it's a 15-minute faster trip, maybe as fast depending on where you board today. So it doesn't leave Route 40 riders without any options. The third option Route 40 riders would be to board the Route 42 and ride it on in. The one thing we didn't mention about the Route 42 versus the Route 40, the Route 40 is only peak hour, and the Route 42 runs all day, every hour. And so it is one of the reasons we believe we've seen the growth in ridership there is the reliability of that route.
Thank you. And then for clarity, TNC, like Uber or Lyft, they typically don't offer any kind of ADA access rides. And if you want to haul your bike, they don't do that either. So a bus does do that. So I want to make sure everybody's clear on that.
Any other questions?
I'll take a stab at it. First, I didn't get the same dress code memo, so.
Not right.
And preface note, also, I'm new to the board, and so these questions, please take them in context. So I have a lot of comments not related to the public concerns, but I do have some. Learning for me, the TNC product sounds like a very inviting opportunity. And in fact, I've really appreciated the response that VRT has extended to the budget situation, because to me, it's very well thought out and a good opportunity to grow in other areas. But the TNC model, using Lyft and all, services that are not part of your network, what kind of response time do we have, like commitments from them? And maybe it was covered and I didn't catch it, but do we have dedicated response times if somebody needs to use it, or is it just running a certain route, or is it on demand, like the on-demand service would be, and do the customers have a choice?
Yeah, so I'll maybe answer those questions in order. We would be working with our current on-demand provider to identify those trips that would be most efficient to serve with the TNC. And then those would go out same as any other ride on the TNC, is my understanding. And so there isn't a set route that they would be doing. It is all on demand. And they would be identifying those opportunities based on the availability of the VRT assets as well as the availability of the TNC assets.
So in other words, if somebody needs to use either Uber or Lyft, they can expect reasonable
Yes.
wait times, and Uber is aware and Lyft is aware that they need to put, I don't know what you'd call it, some level of priority to that.
Yes. And same as we do with our current on-demand service, if there was, when you're provided the service offering, like say, here's your opportunity, or here's how we want to make your trip happen, it would have the travel time on it. And you would then either accept that or not accept that.
So help me if I'm understanding correctly. So a customer who is trying to operate on or transit on one of the routes that is affected, they have a choice of waiting for an alternative, TNC or on demand, and they can choose whichever one best fits.
Well, the way it would work is the customer would put in their trip that they want to take, and then our routing algorithm would say, okay, we think our best solution is if a VRT vehicle goes and picks them up, and that's what they would get offered. If, on the other hand, the best solution is a TNC, they would be offered a TNC ride, and then the rider would have the opportunity to either accept that or not. If they don't accept that, then that you'd go back into the algorithm to say, okay, what would the next opportunity be? And it's possible that there wouldn't be a really reliable next alternative. So that's the reason, that's how we're trying to make sure that we're fitting the right service to the right trip need, right? Is to ensure that you have the most efficient way.
That sounds great. And so.
And just to add to that, today, we already have on-demand rides that end up being unavailable. And we ask that rider either to call back later or try to book later, or we give them a time period later in which they can try. And so we actually believe that this model provides more opportunity for more of those rides to be met at the time that they're asked for.
And it sounds great. And so I've not used the system. So all of this will be programmed into the application and will be easily accessible.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's all the questions I've got. I've got other questions, kind of more to the process, maybe later on after the public has opportunity to come.
Elaine, I just have one clarifying question based off of those questions. So Route 40, what were the times that it ran or runs currently?
It runs in the morning,
What time in the morning?
about 5:30, I think is the first trip, and it runs till, I think the last trip leaves.
And it's hourly or half hour?
It runs half hourly until 7:30 is the last trip that it leaves Nampa. And then 7.
Okay.
And then returning, again, they leave from Nampa, but they're about 4:30 until, again, 6:30 in the evening.
The reason for my question is, although yes, the on-demand is great, you can request it and there's a couple different options. Given the timing of the existing route and how that connects with demand on other Lyft or Uber services, that can have an impact and not be necessarily as reliable as that fixed route service,
Yes.
right? So I think that's, although there's a few steps and you have that personal ability to and autonomy, there are those trade-offs, right? Where you can't actually have that predictability that the bus is arriving and it will be taking you to your destination.
We ready to move to testimony?
All right. Well, thank you. It's great to have engaged board members and great questions. We will now open the public hearing. When you came in, you signed up, and some of you indicated that you wish to testify. So we'll start the public hearing by going down the sign-up sheet for the people who indicated that they did want to testify. After we've finished that, we'll ask if anyone else in the room has changed their mind or didn't get signed up and would like to testify. And at the end of that, we'll go to the viewers online and see if there's anyone there who would like to testify. So if, I don't know if I got these sign-up sheets in
Where do
order.
folks testify?
Oh, and you will be handed a mic by Nick. There is no podium here. We ordered this room and unfortunately didn't get a podium. So Nick will take one of these mics up there and we'll have to share.
Dale and I can share. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you come up, yep, when you come up to testify, Nick will hand you a mic. So and Stephen will keep the time. You'll have 3 minutes. Okay. You'll have 3 minutes to testify. And Stephen will let you know when there are 30 seconds left.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, okay. We're going to hand it. All right. The first person I have signed up is Katie Vaughn. Katie, are you still here? And we would love to have you testify.
Thank you, Katie.
Hi, yes, my name is Katie Vaughn, and I just wanted to say 85 to 90% of the time, this transportation is very reliable, but there are times when, and I take Beyond Access, and there are times when Beyond Access doesn't have any availability in the schedule for when I need it. So I go to then On Demand, and there have been a couple of times that I would go to the place that On Demand stated, and they didn't show up. And then I would have to turn to my mom or other transportation to get me to my destination. And such an instance happened last week, and I was almost half an hour late to work. And so I would like to see that change to where it would be more accessible to that need. I do appreciate that Beyond Access has curb to curb service where they pick me up at the house and then drive me to the destination. Because I don't drive because of my disability. So, and like I said, that isn't the first time that that's happened. There was one time and it was dark and they didn't show up. And so then I had to call my mom. And so, yeah, I would appreciate that changing.
So Katie, thank you so much. I'd like to ask you a question if I could. So the new proposal for the new model for on-demand would be curb to curb rather than stop to stop. I think what I'm hearing you say is that would be an improvement for you.
Yes, very much so.
Thank you. All right. Next, I have Jenny Franco. Jenny, are you still here?
So my name is Jenny, and the reason I'm standing here today is because February 1st, 2025, I received a kidney transplant out in Salt Lake City. When I was released, I came here with nothing. Doctors are a problem here and I'm a severe case. The one thing that keeps me alive is VRT on demand access. This little packet right here is daily. Massive amount of immune suppressants, keeps it from kicking out, and I've had major problems. One thing that really hurt me personally, for medical, is a couple of years ago, the route going into Caldwell. At that time, I was on dialysis, and it was bad. I would have to do my 3 here in Nampa and then have to do a week. So you've already taken away that, And I have talked with Mr. Hunt a couple of times throughout the year. Of course, I understand you don't remember, but to take away any of the routes, I'm pretty much focused on the door-to-door access beyond. It's going to hurt us, no matter how you look at it. And I guess my problem with it is the access routes would go up to St. Luke's Hospital. About 6:45 in the morning, I could do a reoccurring pickup with them. It's mandatory if I want to be alive. I have to be at that hospital every Monday. Beyond Access has no openings that early in the morning. So here's what happens. And of course, we don't have access. I don't really understand the whole Lyft Uber thing. And that's okay, because I got to be on time because of medication. I'm on infusions right now. This is what I had to do today. So I have to take special meds, special stuff for that. I beg my family and I beg my friends, Uber or Lyft, just out of my pocket. It's not just going to St. Luke's every Monday. It's kidney doctors. It's heart things going on. And I could use it with Access, but they don't go on those routes anymore. Also with that, there's a lot of stigma with Access and beyond, a lot. Yes.
30 seconds.
Excuse me?
Time's about up.
Okay.
Sorry.
There's a lot of stigma with that, and it's just not true. I need those access buses and the Beyond Accesses. And Beyond Access is a mess. I really try not to use them. You can't get a, opening. So yeah, at the end of this, it's like, what are you here for? Are you here to help us? I know I can't ask those questions. I'll just put it on the record. Why are you here? We go through this every year. And guess what? I'm still sick. And I have an immune deficiency. So, a shout out to Access, to great drivers. So I'm done.
Thank you so much. Just for everyone else in the audience, the difference between Access and Beyond Access is that Access is for anyone who lives within 3/4 of a mile of a fixed route. And in Nampa, the only one that qualifies is the 42. Previously, there was another route that qualified, and the loss of that meant that the access area that was guaranteed to be served got smaller. And so what this testimony is about is that when that happens, it has a big impact on the people who rely on that for those guaranteed rides. So
just for the record, it's not about, just for the record, it's not about going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of a stigma. Well, they can call their family, they can walk. These are people that drive. So yeah.
thank you. Appreciate it. All right. And I know it's always feels good to clap for people when we're in a public hearing. We try to not do that. Doesn't mean I don't appreciate you supporting the people that are testifying. The next person we have signed up who indicated they'd like to testify is Honey Kamenman. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you, Honey.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak. I live in Nampa over by CWI. I utilize the 42 and the 150. That being said, I also use the TNCs. On the off chance that we don't have the extra to cover the difference for the TNCs, how do we get from point A to point B? That's number one. Number two, I have also used the TNCs to get home from work. I work in Meridian and I live in Nampa, and the out-of-pocket prices fluctuate. There is no consistency there. Driver availability is up in the air. You could be waiting 20 minutes one day or 45 minutes another day. And I get that with the 150 because of the driver availability as well. But I feel that there needs to be some kind of consistency. And then with the removal of the routes, that takes away freedoms from those of us that use them. I'm a frequent rider on the 42 and the 150. If that goes, I have no way of getting to where I need to go. Once a year, I have to go into Caldwell to West Valley Hospital. And there have been a couple of times where my appointment got canceled because I requested an on-demand and it didn't get me to where I needed to go on time. I feel that we need to keep the buses, maybe adjust our timings on them, have more of them out there, but make it so that we, the people, have that freedom to be able to get from point A to point B, have that mobility to get to where we need to go safely, without having to shell out hundreds of thousands of dollars that we don't have.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So just the proposal that we're making is we believe a way that will make the on-demand more reliable. That's our goal with that. And so I appreciate what you just said, because we've recognized the same thing, that it's not as reliable as we need it to be. And the addition of the TNC does two things. It makes it more reliable, we believe, and it reduces the cost for those of you who need to use TNC when you have no other choice.
Right. But that being said, I have a bus pass. So with my bus pass using the TNC, if I don't have any extra money in my pocket, how do I cover that extra cost for the TNC? If my ride is 75 cents and they're proposing $2 and I don't have that, how do I cover that cost?
Yeah, right now the proposal is that each of those TNC trips would be $2. That's something we can look into how the fares would work.
The other part of it is that you'd be given a choice and you wouldn't have to accept the TNC ride, and we'd still offer you a on-demand ride, but it might be a longer wait. I know, I understand. Yeah.
You're still stuck waiting.
Yeah.
30 to 45 minutes for a TNC, or you're waiting 30 to 45 minutes for an on-demand. There's no middle ground there.
We're trying. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, we have two more people on the sign-up sheets that have indicated they would like to testify. Catherine McNary.
Thank you for your time. I just come to talk to you about the bus system, not to have I heard that they may be talking about relieving some of it, but I also, I'm not a rider currently, but I used to ride the bus all the time. It would get me from point A to point B, usually from where I was at to my work and back by. But there are a lot of people out there that don't have cars, don't have any other way of riding, don't have any other option than to take the 150 and cannot afford a TNC, anything else other than that bus system. I live at a shelter right at the moment. I know there are like 30 people just in our shelter, and that's not including the other shelter around here, that require that bus system to get them to doctor's appointments, to groceries, to whatever else they need to get to without having to walk or ride a bike. And a lot of the people are disabled out there that have to get that transportation to what they need. And like I said, I rode the bus for 2 years, and I know how it works. And I know it's not the best in the world, but it's something that we can deal with. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the last person we have signed up is Regina Sambrano. Regina.
Hey, first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for letting me speak. I also echo Catherine McNary's comments. If you're waiting for a bus, that's the only thing you have. It is not easy trying to get a bus. If you've all even tried to get a bus on this on-demand system, I'm sorry for the words, it sucks. I understand it's a smaller community. From where I come from, California, you got a bus like every 5 minutes, it feels like. But you're calling for a bus. Oh, sorry, you have to keep waiting. Call back 10, 15 minutes. You're on your app. Oh, sorry, unavailable. You do this for an hour solid. You can have no bus. You call, sorry, no bus. You've already wasted an hour and a half. Then you finally get one. It's another 45 minutes out. That system really has to improve drastically. You cannot delete this bus system in Nampa. I rely on every day. If you want to raise the bus price, that's fine. I could pay that. But getting a Lyft or Uber every day, nobody can afford that every single day to work and home from work. It's impossible. You've got families on a very, very fixed budget, rent, groceries, kids' education, whatever. You break into this for getting a Lyft or Uber, there goes your budget right there. Cost effective, more reliability for the buses. That's what I'm asking for. And do not please delete the Nampa run. I need it. I'm a really good walker. I can walk 3 miles. However, I've noticed my health is starting to slowly change drastically. I can't do the 3 walk any longer. Years ago, no problem. Now I can't. I realize I'm getting older, body's changing. It's starting to fall apart little by little. We need this bus system in Nampa. Please, please do not change it. Sorry. Okay.
Thank you. All right, well, that's everyone who signed up and indicated they did want to testify. Is there anyone in the room who either indicated they didn't want to testify or didn't get a chance to sign up and would like to testify? Yeah.
It was weird because at first I thought I was going to be the first person, but I was relieved that I wasn't the first person. And all of a sudden you didn't call my name at all. I was like, wait a minute.
Okay,
Sorry.
yeah. Thank you. If I missed you, I apologize.
No, don't worry. I accept your apology.
We would need your name as you start.
My name is Kelly Chapman. My birthday is June 23rd. I have to get that on record too. If anybody wants to know why, but okay, so here's one example for you. I just barely tried to book a ride and this is what happened. Yeah. Just barely. Like the other 3 would have went through, but this is the one that did not go through. So you see that, right? Okay,
I can see that. Thank you.
Okay, so then we also have on documentation the 2 times I got stuck walking home from Happy Day to my house. Where's those pictures at? I know I've got to hurry up. Sorry. Screenshots. Where are they? Okay. One was November 25th, 2025. The weather that night was 32 degrees. The other day was May 13th, 2026, and the weather that day was 70 degrees with a wind chill. That was actually not a bad walk, though. That was 70 degrees, so with a wind chill. So those were the 2 nights that I got stuck walking home because I couldn't book a VRT ride. As far as the 40 goes, I admit that when I was coming home, I was actually getting off at the stop where the CWI/Walmart, that stop, that's over the exit 38 stop. I was actually getting off there. So I think if you did that thing to the 40, it would affect me on that. Going home, it would affect me, not going to. Usually I got on at Albertsons. Albertsons down by the fairgrounds. That's where I was getting on in the morning, but at night I was actually getting off at the 38 stop or exit 38 stop. So yeah, it would affect me on the 40 route anyway. I'm more worried about the 150 route or what I'm trying to say on the 150 route is I'm more worried about safety than the time I have to wait for it. You said that I was going to get a choice between, what were the 2 options again? I can't remember what they were. It was like a Lyft ride or something.
Yes, if it's more reliable or quicker to get a Lyft or an Uber ride, you will be offered the opportunity to accept that.
Okay, so I would still get 2 choices. So like if the Uber ride could get me there in 15 minutes and the other one was a 45-minute wait, but the 45-minute wait was still going to be a VRT on demand.
Yes.
I'm one of those people that actually would pick the 45-minute wait because, like I said, I'm more worried about safety at this point than I am time. Like, I don't care if you take an hour and wind me around everywhere and take me all the way down 12th Street to pick up this person and go over to Costco to pick up this person. Oh, you're going to love this one. We were at Costco picking up somebody. I had to go all the way back to where they picked me up in the first place. This really happened. I actually got a good laugh out of this one, actually. They picked up somebody at Costco. They went all the way back up to the place where they picked me up in the first place to drop that person off and then took me to Caldwell. That was funny, actually. That was the funniest ride. Or the one where the lady drove around Nampa in circles. She was following her GPS and she was trying to explain to me that her GPS was telling her to go down Flamingo Street instead of taking me home. She just drove me around in circles in Nampa. It was funny. I'm sorry. I actually gave her a 5-star. I thought she was funny. There was one guy that acted like he didn't care. He dropped me off too far away from my house. He got a 1-star. The guy just acted like he didn't care. He drops me too far away from my house. I had to walk. What was the weather? Who cares what the weather was like? It was too far away from my house.
Kelly, we're almost at time. If you could wrap it up. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to say that I'm focused on safety and not the time. I'm worried about safety is what I'm worried about. I'm worried about getting dropped off closer to where I need to be dropped off in a safe spot and not a dangerous spot. And I think I've said everything, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you.
I hope I've said everything.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. No, don't be sorry.
great.
We're glad to have you. Is there anyone else in the room who'd like to testify? Thank you. If you can give us your name, please.
Hello, my name is Maria Padilla, and I try to be very clear for you because my English is not really good.
That's great.
But I just want to thanks to the VRT and demand and all the transportation that you have. Thanks for that. I can move. I mean, I've been studying writing this periodically before, but since June last year I've been driving, and I like the service. It takes me where I go. Sometimes I have to get up early, 5 a.m. if I go to place, but if I have to call, I call, and everything goes really fine with me. So I try to not do this too long, but when I came from California, it's a change, total change. But changes has changes. So we came on 2000, and back then, I don't know about the zero transportation. Whenever I ask, I say, there's no buses. Well, to make the story short, I had to walk from 16 by the old clinic, Terry Riley Clinic, through Wincom for groceries. Because I didn't know that bus, there was that service. I'm not even know if we had it back then. So I'm really happy for the service. I drove for work. I have to learn how to drive first. But now I have to use the bus and happy with the service. And I thank you for all you have to do. And I think we need more advertisement, letting people that there's buses. Because maybe people doesn't know their buses. So thank you. Sorry. I hope you understand what I said.
You're fabulous.
Thank you so much. Anyone else in the room? Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Tanya Capino. I'm relatively new to Idaho. I actually moved here for a job at CWI, but I'm speaking on my own behalf, not on the school. And I'm actually wanting to share in praise of the 42 bus because it connects all of our campuses and it's the only bus that does. And so as a staff member, I ride it very, very frequently and actually recognize quite a few people in this room who I ride with on a regular basis. And a lot of our students come from backgrounds that maybe don't have as much privilege. They're very young. They might be someone who's retired and coming back to school, or we have a lot of single moms who are trying to make ends meet and also go to school. And I think the bus is making it possible for them to go to CWI. I actually work helping students who are interested in healthcare to be successful in their studies. That's my role at the school. And so it's just really a neat opportunity, I think, for our community to be able to support those students through the bus. And CWI is very proactive, as you probably know, in paying for the bus for the students. If they want to get a little sticker on their ID badge, they can ride the bus and it's paid for by CWI. I think that's a wonderful thing. I'm actually kind of excited to hear about the changes with the 150, in that having another option on top of that with Lyft to kind of supplement some of those routes that maybe don't have as much reliable connections on the app. That sounds like a great idea. And I had a kind of follow-up question with that. I know that that's common in Boise. I see it at the stops there. Do you know if that drives anybody toward wanting to drive for Lyft? Because now there's more demand in the area. Did they see any shifts there?
Our guess is, as we put out a call for service from either Lyft or Uber, that it would encourage them to hire more drivers and try to attract more drivers. We would also tell you, so this will affect drivers in a couple of ways. The change in on-demand will affect 5 drivers who work for us currently, but we expect the microtransit provider who we contract with to hire either those drivers or some others. So I think in all, it will in fact increase the opportunity for someone to be employed as a driver. Fair to say, at least equal.
That makes sense. And then I had one other question and I'll be done. The 42 bus currently goes to Happy Day. Will the 42 connect with the 40 in Caldwell, or is it still just going to stop at 40 at Happy Day?
The current proposal would be the 42 would stay as is, so there wouldn't be a direct connection in Caldwell between the 42 and the 40, but there would be at 10 Mile. So you wouldn't go back to Caldwell to pick it up, but you could take the 42 to the 40 at 10 Mile.
Thank you so much.
And one other idea that we've heard from some of the surveys is, could we start the 40 at Happy Day? And so that's one of the possibilities we'll consider going forward based on the comments. Anyone else in the audience? Okay, not seeing anyone else. I'm going to ask Jason if anyone online has raised their hand. Okay, I don't see anyone online. So with that, I am going to officially close the public hearing and thank all of you for taking the time today to come and share with us what you know about our service and what you think about these changes. It makes a big deal of difference to us to understand these things. The comments we heard this evening will be entered into the record. and submitted both to the board of directors and to the city councils and mayor of both Nampa and Caldwell and to the county commissioners at Canyon County. We will not make a determination on any final changes until the board meeting in August. And in between now and that board meeting, there will be public hearings on the budgets of both cities and the county. And that would be another opportunity if any of you would like to let your decision makers understand the impacts of any changes. And with that, I will officially close the public hearing. And again, thank you all for taking the time to be with us tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.